From a notch on the Bible Belt and the ancient Appalachian frontier, otherwise known as the Blue Ridge, welcome to the New Earth, the new consciousness, and this anomalous program called Quantum Conscience, where we sift through the clutter and display the truth the way we deserve it, unfiltered, unabated, and uninhibited. Here we are awarded all the raw data so that we can draw our own conclusions about the truth as we see it individually. Gone is the era which the truth is overlooked. Here to stay is the conscience consciousness. Join me as we pierce the veil, explore another realm, and come back enlightened and ever wiser. I am your trail guide, Spencer Cross, and it is no coincidence you are here with me today. We are synchronistically arriving here, at this point, at this time, and there is much to do. There is much to do and much to cover because we are millennia in the dark as we emerge into the light. So let's get caught up and get back to work as we rediscover the works destroyed in the Library of Alexandria. We find these works in the consciousness and the minds of the guests on this program. The past is in the future, and the future is in the past. So it behooves us to pay attention to what is being discovered and uncovered now. Now, let's get into the news that actually matters with Tim Bravo.
Greetings, sisters and brothers of planet Earth. I'm Tim Bravo, and this is News That Actually Matters. Top story on this cast: what's going on in Israel. Now, back in the middle of June, a couple of Israeli teens, or I guess there were 3 of them, were found dead. They were kidnapped and then they were found dead. Israel blames Hamas, but they have no evidence. Hamas denies involvement, and as Israel is calling Hamas a terrorist organization, I have to ask myself, don't terrorists usually claim their actions? So that's something to note right there. Now, in retaliation, real terrorists, Israelis, kidnapped a Palestinian teen and they burned him alive. He was found dead, and in his autopsy it was discovered he was still alive when they burned him. To add insult to injury, video has since surfaced of Israeli cops beating and stomping on that same kid's cousin. So this family had one kid kidnapped by Israeli terrorists and burned alive, and had another kid in their family get stomped on by, and these are just teen boys, stomped on by Israeli cops. Israel has whipped itself into a fury. They have struck more than 200 sites in Palestinian areas in the last day. They have killed at least 53 people, including 8 children. So what was 3 kidnapped Israeli boys has turned into 54, not to mention hundreds wounded. How many homes destroyed in this action? How many homes damaged? Thousands of homes already damaged in one day. Scores of homes demolished. As a human being, I have to ask, who are the real terrorists here? Israel continues to build settlements. Israel continues to demolish Palestinian homes. Israel continues the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank, controlling all traffic in and out. Israel continues to keep Gaza under siege, not allowing aid in or out. I ask you, who are the real terrorists here? And let's look at it from the point of view of the Palestinians for a second. 2 generations have grown up since the Palestinians were literally thrown out of the land their fathers and grandfathers called home, to create a country for the persecuted Jews of the world. In a sick twist of irony, starting then and since, it's Israel who has done the persecuting. It's Israel who has herded an entire people into camps. Israel, who won't even let the people they've locked away call their internment camps home. Nope, that's Israel too, son. So this is kind of negative, and it's a bummer, and why am I starting the news with this? Why does it matter? Well, I'll tell you why I think it matters. Those Israeli teens were shot with a silencer. It sounds more like a Mossad false flag operation than a Palestinian terror attack to me. It's like a little 9/11. There was an intelligence failure. It happened right under the noses of the IDF in Israel. Israel immediately blamed Hamas, like the U.S. did with bin Laden, And Israel has called up 40,000 reservists, conscripting tens of thousands of people back into service, whether they like it or not, because they've got plans. And they had plans, and they're in the midst of some plans. So let's imagine that what happened with those 3 Israeli teens that kicked this whole bit off was actually a false flag. What did it do? It created instability where there wasn't instability. Zionist leaders of Israel must have been scared by the relative peace and progress toward a two-state solution, not to mention shifting public perception toward the plight of the Palestinians around the globe. This created an excuse to really rile the natives and trick them into reacting like they always do. But here's the deal. It takes 2 to tango. And this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for Palestinians to break the cycle. The back and forth violence. It hasn't made life better for anyone. It's not working. It's not gonna work. Somebody has to make a change. Somebody has to break the cycle. Somebody has to choose peace, even if it's the hardest thing to choose. That's why they call it an opportunity. It takes 2 to tango. And Israel and Palestinians have been doing this dance for 2 generations. Plus, with non-violence, with non-retaliation, that is how Palestinians can break Israel's back in the long run. If they just stop playing Israel's game, then Israel can't just continue to pound Palestine. If Palestine doesn't fight back, at some point, there's no longer an excuse to continue. So I pray that the people of Palestine will reach this same conclusion themselves soon enough. Okay, on to other news. I need a little sounder for like NSA bits and super secret spy bits, some James Bond, Austin Powers type thing. We should make it a regular segment and give it a name. What do you guys think? What should it be called? Anyway, in this week's version of super secret spy stuff, German double agents. That's right. Germany has uncovered not 1, but 2 double agents in their midst who are working for the Americans. Big shocker, right? First one was an intelligence officer. The second one is in the Ministry of Defense. This is really, it's embarrassing for Germany to have these people, but it's really embarrassing for America to have them get caught. This is really bad news for the American government, considering this recent Snowden revelation that all the German embassies were, and many other foreign embassies, were bugged by the NSA. That even Germany's leader, Chancellor Merkel, had her phone tapped by the NSA. Thank you, Edward Snowden. Since then, Germany, not only has Merkel gotten a special phone that, hopefully can't be tapped, but Germany has thrown Verizon out of the country. No, Verizon, you cannot do business in Germany because we can't trust you not to be working closely with the NSA. So, American business gets bit in the ass by the NSA revelations of Edward Snowden. And with Germany continuing to find American spies, this is a bad deal for America. With BRICS on the ascendancy, that being Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the USA is running out of friends in high places, and Germany is the only major country in the EU that has a decent economy. And they're keeping the whole thing afloat. And they might be strategic allies, but they are not going to be coming to the next barbecue. How can you partner with somebody who's stabbing you in the back every time you turn around? Okay, on the freedom front, Washington State has finally started their pot sales. They have joined Colorado. We now have 2 states out of the 50 United States where recreational marijuana is legal. Although in the case of Washington, they've got ridiculous tax rates and it is super expensive, but it is still legal. As for the other state that has legal marijuana, your buddy Barack was there, and there's video of him getting offered a hit, a free legal hit, which he laughs off. Same guy who raids medical marijuana facilities in Oakland is yucking it up about getting offered a hit in Denver. You are not freedom's friend, Mr. Obama. Take your smile back to D.C. And keeping the freedom front on the pot tip, I would like to remind you that the country of Uruguay in South America will be installing a completely legal marijuana trade next year in 2015. They're going to grow it, they're going to sell it, they're going to legalize the recreational use. If it's weed, think Uruguay. They see the writing on the wall, and those South American economies will take whatever they can get. Maybe Buenos Aires will follow suit so they can pay their American debt. You know those hospital infections that you're always hearing about, those resistant, drug-resistant, hard-to-get-rid-of infections that people pick up in the hospitals? Well, it turns out that one of those is the result of the United States military secretly spraying New York City, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco with that bacteria in the 1960s just to see what would happen. And what happened was this bacteria is now a common resistant infection that people pick up in hospitals. So, thanks for that delightful attack on your own citizens' government. We're watching. We're paying attention. Let's talk about myths. Let's talk about things that aren't true. Let's talk about sun exposure and skin cancer and sunscreen. It turns out that the sun is not bad for you. In fact, the sun exposure that you get is really good for you. It's even important. There is a devastating vitamin D deficiency in the Western world because people block out the sun. People avoid the sun. It's the only way to get a critical type of vitamin D that your body needs. Did you know that a Swedish study found that people who avoid the sun are actually twice as likely to die of cancer? I repeat, people who avoid the sun are twice as likely as people who sunbathe daily to get skin cancer and die. Now, let's bear in mind that these are the same people that are slathering on sunscreen. You know, sunscreen, it comes from the sunscreen tree, from the sunscreen plant that the farmer pulls out of the field. No, it's chemicals. It's crap that some dude made in a lab, all hodgepodge together. It's sunscreen that's giving people cancer. This is literally true. Sunlight helps people fight cancer. Sunscreen is what gives them the cancer. So get out there, get some sun, and next time someone starts in on you about sun exposure and skin cancer, stick that little tidbit in their pie hole. Little personal empowerment there. Right, Spence? All right, let's end this baby on a high note. Free energy. Y'all want to hear about some free energy? Well, this time it's not about QEG and their 33 times over unity device. This is SHT and 1,000 times over unity. SHT stands for Solar Hydrogen Trends, and this is a company that is producing hydrogen from water. For people who study free energy, this isn't a new thing, but usually when we think of Brown's gas or hydrogen from water, a lot of times we get the idea that what's happening is electrolysis is being used to split water atoms into 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. But that's not what's happening here. This isn't just splitting water molecules into atoms. There's low energy nuclear reactions going on here. LENR. It's creating more hydrogen and less oxygen. In fact, it's producing 97% hydrogen. So what's going on here is something beyond the pale. It's not just splitting atoms. There is a nuclear reaction going on here, and it's manageable, and it's not radioactive. It's what's been termed cold fusion. That's not what it is. It's LENR, low energy nuclear reaction. But they're creating 1,000 times over unity. That's from a third-party test, and these guys are still tweaking their system. They continue to make improvements. These are scientists with shoestring budgets, guys. Imagine what we could do with real money and no government interference. With that thought in mind, I bid you adieu. Until next time, check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/Bravo New World Blogcast and interact with me on Twitter at Tim Bravo. Until then, peace.
Thank you, Tim, for delivering the news that actually matters. I'm very appreciative that Tim is able to do this because I know he's already doing a lot of research and news digging. It just makes it that much easier for people like me and the listeners to not have to do as much digging because he's able to go in and find some really important stuff and bring it to the forefront. I'm really glad that Tim's able to be involved. Thanks a lot, Tim. Now let's get into this week's guest, Patrick Robert Mula, nicknamed Rick. He has been practicing as a licensed massage therapist and Reiki Jinkeido master practitioner for the past 7 years. He has also a second degree Usui Reiki training. He has been registered as a hypnotherapist in Massachusetts since the 80s. He was trained by Farrell Cox in Ericksonian hypnotic techniques. He has used hypnotherapy for past life regression as well as smoking cessation and weight loss. Although not practicing hypnosis right now, he still has a keen interest in the utilization of this modality. He studied ultrasound technology in Tampa, Florida, and was the first to demonstrate the superiority of using aloe gel as a coupling agent for ultrasound. Mineral oil had been the standard up until this time. Upon moving back to the Massachusetts area, Mula worked at a variety of hospitals, including the Whidden Hospital in Everett, Mass. There he met and had contact with the now well-recognized Deepak Chopra. What a synchronistic event. Who knew? Many of the doctors there said, "You need to spend time with Dr. Chopra, you guys think alike." Unfortunately, there was no time in such a small department with so many scheduled exams to perform. Rick was a working supervisor for the department in that institution. Upon meeting his second wife-to-be, he moved to West Haven, Connecticut. He became the sole sonographer for the West Haven VA hospital, later moving to North Chicago, Illinois. While still employed by the VA system, he was lent to the Navy at the Great Lakes Naval Hospital. There, he received outstanding performance awards for service to the VA and the Navy. Later, he moved to Tennessee to work in echocardiography with BRMC Hospital, which is Bristol Regional Medical Center. After that, he worked as an independent freelance contractor for various doctors' offices and clinics. He feels his calling now is to treat people rather than use diagnostic skills. His true empathic nature is now embraced and applied through the use of Reiki and different massage practice techniques. He also has attended and participated in crystal healing techniques with Dale Walker at Harvard University in Cambridge, Mass. Learning about the power of crystals to help us heal is essential ancient knowledge. Mind, body, and spirit must be balanced to maintain optimal health. He now works out of 2 offices, the first being exclusively you, 119 Broad Street, Kingsport, Tennessee, and the second being Donna LeBlanc's Spa on Farrell Street in Colonial Heights. He works by appointment only and can be reached by cell phone at 423-276-8817. His business name is The Healing Artist. He states the name has 2 meanings. The first is using the healing arts for stimulating the client's self-healing. The second is that as a human healer, Mula is also healing himself. Rick, welcome to Quantum Conscious. Thank you for coming on the show today. And, he just stumbled in here directly out of an appointment, and he smells like very fragrant oils, like he had just been healing someone. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be here.
Well, thanks very much, Spencer, for bringing me on the show, and it's an honor to be here, and I hope we can reach some people and make them realize they need to take responsibility for their own health.
Hey, if it's only one person, I'm happy. If it's thousands of people, then I'm elated and humbled. So getting back to... actually, one thing caught my eye on here that we'll probably get a little bit more into later that I did not think that we'd get too much into today, but it's really caught my attention lately, and that's crystals. A lot of people are very familiar with Reiki. They're going to get much more familiar with it today, of course. One thing that people kind of stick to the side and don't really put a lot of attention to, and especially when it comes to massage, is crystals. First, what do you use crystals for in your practice, and what have you seen from them?
Well, I use crystals to help the healing process. I channel Reiki through the crystals. It's not necessary to be a Reiki practitioner to use crystals. You can use your own personal energy. However, I always recommend everybody getting at least Reiki 1 and start channeling energy for yourself and experiencing what that feels like. And you will see the benefits and the people that you treat almost immediately. Crystals are ancient knowledge, and they're used to amplify energy, and they really amplify the Reiki. I can feel it myself as it goes through the crystal and into another individual. And some people don't realize that with Reiki too, there's different symbols, different sacred symbols that we use for different aspects of healing and treatment. And one of those aspects, you can actually use a distance healing technique, and I found the crystals to be very, very helpful with that.
Okay. So it states here that you've actually gone down two paths with Reiki. One of them, it looks like you've chosen as your main path the Jinkei-Do, and then you also have tried the Usui method. What are the differences between those two methods?
Well, the main difference, it's more of a philosophy. The Reiki Jinkei-Do is, in a sense, a stricter application, and well, it's hard to explain.
Does it require more steps that are structured?
Yes,
along the way?
there's more structure to it. I find being in Usui, I found that there was a lot of looseness to the technicality of how to use it. And with Reiki Jinkei-Do, it's like, this is the way you do it. Okay. And with Usui, you kind of, it almost feels at times that you're winging it. And that might be, I don't know if everybody's had that type of experience with it, but that's kind of how I view it.
So it's more along, like Usui would be like, okay, this is what we're going to try to do. You tell me what you're feeling while you're doing it. Mm-hmm. And then Jinkei-Do would be like,
right,
you're going to look at this,
right,
you're going to do this, and then this is going to happen.
Right. And Reiki Jinkei-Do is the path of wisdom and compassion. And you're developing yourself. I mean, you're developing yourself with Usui as well, but it's more, we're pushed more to do more meditation, more self-healing, and it's a continual process for our own awakening.
So you chose Jinkei-Do. Is it because you feel that kind of matched your mental, processes a little better than the Usui?
Yes, and it just rings home with me. It's a feeling. It's an intuitive feeling as well. It seems like that is the meditation part, the part of trying to influence my own awakening. Reiki Jinkei-Do is doing it. It's doing it for me, and I found that what it does is it completely disassembles your life and reassembles it in a spiritual way. We were just talking about that not too long ago.
Definitely.
But
So what, from your perspective, I'm assuming that, when you're going through some of these classes, you guys are practicing on each other and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
From the practitioner standpoint, I've been in your sessions. I've had Reiki applied to me before. From the practitioner side, what are you seeing, feeling, and what's happening while you're going through that? While the rest of us are just trying to lay there and relax and get the stress away. What are you doing?
Yeah, my focus is to channel as much energy as possible, and to do that, you concentrate and use the sacred symbols. And depending on what the problem is, I try to use all the symbols all the time anyway. I try to incorporate it into every session. We were told, for certain symbols, that's just, you use that just to attune or just to use on other master practitioners or master teachers, but you don't use that on clients. And I don't see why. I use it on everybody.
Okay.
Because the reason I do is the symbols are supposed to be sacred. I'm not supposed to mention the names of the symbols, so I won't do that, but they're all over the internet. Anybody can find out any of these symbols.
That was going to be my next question. I'm very technical. I want to know everything. So
yeah.
What can you tell us about what, not necessarily describing the specific symbol, but what, if you were to say, okay, well, this symbol, is it chakra based, or
yes,
how does it work?
all the symbols are basically chakra based, and the power symbol would be the number one symbol. Without talking about it any further than that, it incorporates, it starts the energetic flow. Okay. Would
that be the root chakra, or is that?
No. I mean, the symbol itself will activate all the chakras.
Oh, so that symbol is kind of pulling the energy, saying it's time to
That's
get started?
the activation. You're saying, put the energy here.
Oh.
Okay. You're connecting with the energy and put the energy here. And as you do that, you can use other symbols to work on other aspects, like there's a psychological, emotional symbol, and that is activated with this power symbol as well. There's another symbol, that master symbol that I was talking about, that enables you to channel lots of energy. Well, I want to channel as much energy as possible. It's not up to me to decide what the energy does. The energy does its own thing. I'm there as the conduit.
Is that something that they teach you in your school, or is that something that you just have chosen that's the way you want to do it?
No, that's what they've taught us.
Okay.
The part of using the master symbol, we were told not to use that. It might be too much for most people. And it's like, well, I can tell if it's too much for somebody. If they suddenly are antsy, or this doesn't feel right, or say something, then I would stop. I would cut that out, and go to a lower energetic symbol.
I like using the grenade approach.
Yeah.
When I'm in there, I'm
that's
like,
how
hey,
I am.
Use it. Just whatever you're going to do, just do it all.
Yeah.
And I can attest to it. Being in your office, I've literally, you've lined up crystals in certain patterns and stuff like that with me, and I can feel it. Like, as soon as you get started and you line them up the right way, I start feeling a tingling sensation, in the very center of my head. It almost feels like that's like the Vesica Pisces of the two crystals on either side of my head, and I can feel that intersection. It's quite crazy. And the funny thing is, like, the only time I did not feel that was when we accidentally left the heating blanket plugged in, and it must have been given off.
That's great. I'm so glad you brought that up too, because we've always been told, you need to take off all jewelry, all metals, and so forth, and if there is a heating blanket, it needs to be turned off immediately before you start.
What do you think's going on there?
Well, I don't know for sure, but it somehow the energetic frequency is it's not conducive, you know, and you spotted it right off the bat. You know, you're energetically sensitive, obviously, and most of my clients are not. You know, they know something's happening, and I've had plenty of people who were in complete doubt, you know, completely skeptical. And it's like, you can be as skeptical as you want. It doesn't matter. You know, things either work or they don't. Do you know how your TV works? Do you know how the transmission is coming through the air and entering your TV set and how it makes a picture? Of course you don't.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what's happening, you know, when these energies, with these energies coming in, is it just a faceless energy? Are they attached to entities? Are these entities here to help us? Like, what's coming in?
Well, I call upon guides and guardians and so forth, and Reiki masters to help me, you know, help me heal this person who lies before me, and they do come. And sometimes you're able to see them. I know you've seen a few instances where that has happened.
Yeah, for me it's just like a
flash.
Yeah, a blue spot would appear somewhere in the room. You know, some people describe orbs, and you can take pictures or video of them. You might see them moving around like bubbles with jet engines on them or something.
Right.
But I didn't really see it that way. It was like just a bloop, and they came in, and when it went away, it seems to come in during points of conversation of interest. You know, either it's an energetic connection, like we're having a heated discussion, all of a sudden, boop, it's there.
Right.
Or you're doing something with the Reiki, and then it pops up then, which, you know, to them maybe it's the same emotional energy.
There's an opening, you know, and that shows me, you know, an open mind, an open attitude towards these energies, and you're willing to accept the help.
So you're saying it's guides? Do you think it's like ascended masters?
Yes,
angels?
all of that. And you know, I mean, you're dealing with a subtle energetic flow. You're dealing with energy. We call it energy, but it's really something that happens before that. Everything happens in the etheric realm and then enters into the auric field and then enters into the physical body.
So can you describe the etheric realm for us, for those who would not? I mean, we did have a show about auras, so we're kind of familiar about that. But you just mentioned etheric field. What is that?
The etheric field would be all of space, all the space between atoms, all the space in the universe, really. That's the etheric realm.
Or like they say in Star Wars, it's the force that binds us,
yes,
that penetrates us,
and
surrounds us.
Yeah, Reiki energy is light energy. You're channeling light energy. You're channeling subtle energy, but it's on a frequency that most people aren't aware of, even though they're receiving it all the time. And it's also, you know, we were taught as practitioners that most people are operating because of the way that we live our lives and emotional, psychological issues, physical issues, so forth, that we're not operating on a full tank of Reiki. So I'm there to top it off, top the tank off.
Okay, so so we're trying to draw a picture of what Reiki is, and we're starting to see that it must be like you have a bucket, and you're trying to...
Yes, and you have holes in that bucket
okay.
from your emotional problems, your physical problems.
Ooh, so you brought up holes. So if the bucket represents our Kundalini energy, which we've discussed that as well on the show, Kundalini energy meaning, you know, fully functioning chakras, energy flowing from root to crown, and that sort of thing.
Right.
So let's say if it is a bucket, and you just said holes in the bucket, what could be some of these holes in our bucket, so to speak?
An emotional issue that you've been holding on to, regrets. It can be almost anything. It can be any physical type chronic issue. And usually behind some of these chronic physical issues are mental issues.
Mental meaning emotional?
Emotional, mental.
Interesting.
Yeah. As depression or other things.
So if sometimes chakras are identified as emotional centers.
Yes,
I've seen that before too.
Sure, like your solar plexus.
So
chakra.
You're describing that the energy could be sapping emotional energy, which really literally means it's sucking energy from your chakra.
And there's an energetic block in different meridians that can cause physical illness.
Okay, so you brought up meridian. What is a meridian then?
A meridian is, think of it as the vasculature of our energetic flow.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good way to put it. Interesting. So we have a physical body that we would like to go to the doctor to to work on.
Yes. And
how does the doctor treat it? Well, he gives you a prescription, a physical prescription of an antibiotic, or, if you have cancer, then it's going to be chemo. So, if you're talking more along the lines of emotional drainage,
right, emotional,
holes in your
issues.
bucket,
yes.
So then you must be treating something else other than just the physical body.
Exactly. And the whole idea is to get the energetic flow continuing through all the meridians, all the chakras, activate everything to the maximum so that there's a free flow of energy. Most illness and problems of any kind, whether they be psychological or physical, it's because of a blockage. Pain is, and this was recently described in an article that I just read on the internet about how acupuncture works is by unblocking a meridian. And when you unblock the meridian, the pain goes away.
So maybe that it's being dictated from, would you call it, like a light body or energetic body?
Energetic body, your light body is fine, yeah.
So if you heal that energetic body, then there's a chance you're going to release
right.
some
Because
stress.
Everything is starting out there in that, or the etheric, and then the auric, and then it gets into physical. Everything starts on the outside. It's not starting on the inside. When you have a problem on the inside, it started out there somewhere. And that's why, Reiki is such a great preventative, because you're keeping the flow. And it's good for me, too, because when I channel energy, the energy has to go through me first and then into you. So it's clearing my system, and you are not subject to any of my personal energetic problems. I mean, we all have problems. But you're not subject to that.
You're not sending your garbage
No,
to
I'm
us.
not sending any garbage to you. It's clearing me and taking care of me and then going into you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you think that everyone should at least attempt to get maybe a level 1.
Yes.
Why is
I
that, and
recommend
what
it.
would we see? I've never taken Reiki before. What would I expect to find at level 1 that you think that we could benefit from?
Well, you would be able to channel energy after your attunement, which would probably be like within a weekend of study, and be taught how to, use that energy on yourself and somebody else. And that is the beginning of the process, and then see if you want to go further from there. Most people do, because it's just so amazing. It's absolutely mind-blowing when the attunement occurs, and the after effects of an attunement are almost breathtaking, because there are times most people see energetic flow through trees, or they start to see auras, or they see things that they haven't seen before.
Oh, Okay. Well, that now you're bringing up something that I didn't realize. So, when you say you get attuned and then you start channeling this energy, it's not necessarily that I can go begin healing and practicing on people. It's mainly that you're awakening. That you're saying that you're just awakening?
You're awakening, but you are able to channel energy. Yes, you would be able to treat people. And there's with the sacred symbols as they're embedded into your auric field so that you can use them. It's like tuning a radio to a certain frequency. When you're into that frequency, you can use it. You'll be able to use it immediately. And you'll feel it. You will know that it's there.
That what would a level 1 person want to do then after that? What will they feel compelled to go do?
Well, basically, I chase the dog around the house, and I'll help you.
Hold on, let me zap you.
Or my kids, okay.
Hey,
you got to try this. You just come over here and let me just do this. What do you feel? And then ask them what they feel, and see if they're sensitive to the energetic flow. And you'd be amazed. Most kids are. It's like, oh, that feels funny. That feels tingly, electrical, or they will describe something. They will describe a sensation.
Interesting.
Heat. Most people feel heat. I think a high degree of people feel heat. And it's not really heat. It's your interpretation of the energetic flow. It's not heat coming out.
What's the strangest thing that you've had happen during a session, from your perspective?
Oh, okay. Well, the strangest thing is picking up on a word or a person that was important in their life that, some issue came up. And I said, is this person, and I would mention a name, is this person important to you? And, oh, that's somebody that died, 2 years ago, and they have an emotional release.
So you had kind of like a spontaneous mediumship moment?
Yes, like that, yeah. And another thing that's happened that was, a little disconcerting to me was I was moving through the different chakra areas, and suddenly I was not in control of my hands. My hands,
Whoa.
It was like somebody picked my hands up and moved them to another spot, a different chakra. It was like,
what was going?
Wow.
What was going through your mind when that happened? Was it just like you felt someone take over your mind, or your hands just started moving?
My hands just started moving. And then it was like, wow, what's this? And evidently that chakra needed to be treated at that particular moment. And, now I feel more intuitive, and that doesn't happen so much. It does happen from time to time, but I feel more of an intuitive, okay, here's the next spot. Go to this spot. And it's not a direct sequence. We're taught direct sequences of how to go through the body, but that's just a rule of thumb.
Okay. Going back to the crystals, do they teach you to use crystals in your Reiki training, or did you have to reach outside the program for that?
No, that's outside.
Okay.
That's another study.
What made you make that decision or decide to do that?
Well, crystal energy, Reiki energy, it all feels exactly the same to me. And it's amplification of energy, okay? It's amplification of subtle energy. And there are healers out there that use personal energy, and they feel drained and tired after they have used it. And they're very successful, and they do really good work and so forth, but why not use the universal infinite energy, the life energy of the universe? And that's what Reiki does. That attunes you to that. And once it's turned on, that's the only warning that we were given. You have to think about this aspect of it. Once you turn the Reiki on, once you're attuned to it, it never shuts off. It's always there. It's
like taking the red pill in the Matrix?
Exactly, yeah, like that. exactly.
You
It's always going on.
Can't take that one back out. Huh.
Right.
And then that happens in level 1 or later?
Yes, with all degrees. Once it starts, it's going. And, there are some consequences. Like I said, it disassembles and reassembles your life. The things that you may not need in your life when you started, they're going to become very evident. And you're going to start weeding things out, either voluntarily or involuntarily.
Well, that sounds kind of like an awakening, a general awakening process that even people outside of Reiki might be going through as well.
I'm sure there's a lot of people going through that right now with the energetic flow that's happening from, astrologically speaking, solar, the coronal mass ejections that are hitting us, the changes in the electromagnetic field of the Earth itself. There's obvious changes, and they're being documented and talked about daily, on a daily basis.
Does any of that affect your work when you're in sessions, like coronal mass ejections or anything like that? Have you noticed any changes in?
I haven't noticed it. There are days when I feel more energetic now, whether that is actually related to a CME, coronal mass ejection, or some other aspect of the magnetic field of the Earth. I'm not so sure, because that life force, subtle energy, it's just everywhere. It's all pervading. And I don't know the interaction between the two. This is, it's subtle energy. Subtle energy is,
Yeah, the sun has to affect us some way. I just don't, I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, I agree, and it probably does. And what the actual effect is, I guess I would have to really start looking at exactly the time when the Earth was hit with that field, and then challenge the energy to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Start channeling and challenging it and see what would happen at that point.
Do you think that the etheric field is connected to the electromagnetic field in some way, or the Earth's magnetic field?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure of that. That I'm sure of. Yeah, that is for sure.
I've noticed that you have, a lot of times you'll have necklaces with crystals on them. You'll pull stuff out of your pockets.
Yeah, every day. All the time.
This last time I went to go see you, you did this test with me where I had my phone in my pocket.
Oh, yeah,
and you were showing me how easy it was to push my arms down, no matter how hard I tried to resist it. And then as soon as I got rid of my phone, then it was more difficult, and it felt like it was easier for me to hold your hand up. What is that black 0 point thing? What is the thinking behind that? Is there a crystal in there, or what is?
Yes, there's crystals in there. There's different types of lava earth in there as well. And really it's a point of focus to channel energy through. It's just like channeling it through a crystal. And there are many different types of crystals. There's laser wands and lemurian, citrine and selenite. There's many different types.
Your ears perked up when you said point of focus. I'm thinking singularity of some kind, like the space between spaces, the things that hold molecules and atoms together. Are they coming in through singularities all around us? Is that how this energy is coming in?
I believe so. I think that's probably right on. Yeah.
And so maybe that 0 point disc is like a concentration of making a gate or a window of some kind.
Yeah, some kind of a small vortex, or a place for energy to enter more easily, subtle energy to enter more easily. And that's the whole point of Reiki, is pulling in the energy, channeling it, and letting the energy do its job. You don't tell the energy what to do. The energy tells you what to do, just like when my hands moved, or the intuitive aspects as they come up during the session. and where to go, what sometimes what symbol to use, for, moving through the different chakras. Well, maybe I should use this symbol now. And it'll just come to you, and that's the help I get from the outside, from these other beings, the ascended masters or angels, guardians, guides, and it could be your guides. It could be your guides, your guardian says, hey, why don't you do this over here? Okay.
Well, I mean, and there will be people listening that, may have come to see you and they're totally unfamiliar. What is he talking about? Energy coming in? What do you do? What? And right. They might freak out, like, well, what's he summoning up here? So is there, obviously they've been to you, they should, trust you. So can you tell us, how can we feel comfortable with, opening up to this energy? Why should we not be timid about it?
Well, immediately, what do you feel? You feel relaxed. You get feelings of sensation, of some kind of energy flow, but do you feel negative in any way?
Right, exactly. No, I don't.
No. Nobody does. I have never had anybody, oh, what are you doing that? Oh, I just thought of horrible things, or, something terrible just came up in my mind. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, this never happened with me.
It's never happened with anybody.
Okay.
In my 7 years almost 8 years of practice now, that's never happened. That's never been an issue. Even the ones, we're in the Bible belts, and people think, that could be you're summoning evil spirits, or you're summoning
demons.
Yeah, demons are taking over, and you're never relinquishing your free will. Your free will is always there, and that is your protection. Your guides, your guardians are always with you. They're always there. And you have to openly want something negative to happen. And you're not going to get it with Reiki. The negative is not going to happen with Reiki.
I would even argue that, there are worse demons just happening as we're walking down the street, just doing our daily, activities.
Oh, yes.
Our own thoughts are our own enemies sometimes, and fearing this, fearing that, getting angry with this and angry with that. I mean, those are true. Those could be our worst enemy, truly. If you think about it, demons don't really just appear all around us, wreaking havoc in our lives. I mean, our own mouth can do that, and our our temper will do that.
Right.
What would you, is there anything that anyone can kind of take away with regards to like meditation, or what kind of calming activities can we practice that would help us temper some of those?
The easiest thing is out in nature, spending time in nature. Nature reconnects you to spirit very, very quickly. And it doesn't take long, 10, 15, 20 minutes walking around the park, or sitting out in your backyard, watching the birds, the trees, just looking at the trees, the grass, the plants, the flowers. All of it will reconnect you with spirit. That's how you can reconnect with spirit easily. If you want to meditate, if you're inclined to meditate, it's a way to turn off the egoic mind. It's a way to silence that inner speak, that inner talking that constantly goes on, in your head, that, is criticizing, or making itself known continuously, because if it doesn't exist.
Right.
The ego is our own worst enemy. I think that is our biggest problem. And that turns it off. Meditation turns that off. And you reconnect with spirit. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is how I should feel. This is how it's supposed to be. Yes, that's it. That's it. And, probably 10 minutes after you come out of it, you're right back to,
Yeah.
When am I wasting my time? What am I doing here? And
how many calls did I miss?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I got to turn my phone on and check my Twitter account.
Yeah, exactly. or oh, I better look at my bank account today.
Well, I mean, that's a good concept. Let's pretend like you got somebody coming into your office and
Right.
they're just totally stressed out beyond belief.
Oh, and I have quite a few of
Oh,
those.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet some of them are to come to see you as a last resort, even. To
That's true.
A lot of problems.
That's true, and they, they have a hard time taking care of themselves.
Mm.
And they are super critical. They're type A personality. Nothing's ever done right. I have to do it all myself. And I've even had clients, they're lying on the table and we're going to begin the session and I can see them wringing their hands. And I feel so bad for them.
Oh, you mean in like cracking their knuckles and
Well, like they're washing
nervous.
their hands, they're rubbing one hand over the other, wringing their hands in stress. Like, I gotta relax now, and it's like, just pay attention to what I'm doing, okay? Just see how you feel, okay? Just go with your feeling. And with Reiki, you use a very, very light touch. You're supposed to use a touch of no more than a nickel on these different aspects of the body, the different areas of the body, as you progress. And I always use Reiki first. I insist that everybody have Reiki as soon as we start the session, because it puts everybody in a relaxed, comfortable setting. It's like meditation. It's like a forced meditation.
Yeah.
Whether
they want to or not.
Whether they want
they're going to meditate. Damn it.
And some people have protested, and I said, well, why don't we just try it? It's kind of like you're a kid and here's some broccoli. Oh, I don't like that. Have you ever tried it? No. Well, let's just try it. And you might find out you like broccoli.
I kind of equate it to ice cream. It's more like ice cream.
And
you've never had ice cream. Oh, that's terrible. That's gonna hurt my mouth. I'm gonna get a headache.
That's cold. That's too cold.
I'm gonna get a big headache from that ice cream. I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
But then you taste it, you're like, oh wow, that's like the best thing ever. Can I have a quart
Exactly.
of that?
Exactly. And those people, within 5 minutes, many of those people that are wringing their hands, all of a sudden their face just relaxes completely. And I'll use a little extra weight on their face or around their ears or on the back of their head. And just that soothing touch, along with the Reiki, is enough to trigger their relaxation response.
Mm. Now, you were practicing Reiki before you came to this part of Tennessee, is that right?
No, actually, no.
So it's after.
Yeah, it was once I got involved in the massage therapy program.
How ironic is that you come to the Bible Belt before you even
Isn't that something?
Start your Reiki?
Yeah.
What?
And here I was doing all kinds of crystal work and hypnosis and everything else. And we ended up here, and it was like, okay, here we go. I came from a very, scientific, technical background. That's how I was, brought up, between X-ray and ultrasound and a variety of other technical fields that I had been involved with. And when she started mentioning Reiki, I was very interested and excited. It's like, oh, could this really be real? And really, that's what I've been waiting for all my life. That's it for me. That was the big gate opener for me.
So when you were in the technical side, then you went into hypnosis. Was that the first thing that you tried that was kind of outside of that technical realm that opened the door?
Well, not really. Crystal work was before that.
Okay.
And I've always had that. I've always been interested in the psychic areas.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was something that started back when I was probably 14 or 15, and reading about psychokinesis and out-of-body experiences, and reading Robert Monroe, who was big into the OBEs, and
Yeah, I've only recently started going down the route of trying to learn how to lucid dream. And I even have an app on my phone that helps me kind of, it gives you like what they call them totem sounds throughout the day.
Okay.
And so I have it set on one that just kind of goes doo-doo-doo-ding, and I'm supposed to count my fingers, pinch my nose, try to breathe through my nose, and I have to kind of go through a successive list of demands that this app makes me answer to prove to myself that I'm actually awake.
Yes.
And then supposedly, I've never actually heard it while I'm sleeping, because I have it between, when at times of the night when I know I'm going to be asleep.
Right.
Which is very easy to do when you have 3 kids. You know you're going to be asleep from midnight to 5 o'clock in the morning. It's just too much going on throughout the day to do otherwise.
Sure.
So supposedly these totem sounds are still going off in the night.
I see.
And I have a couple of times I've done it, gone through my progression in my dream, and all of a sudden I get all the way to the point where I'm pinching my nose, and then I'm like, oh man, I can breathe right now even though I'm pinching my nose. I must be dreaming. And then you go through a couple of other things where you realize you're awake.
Right.
I mean, realize that you're asleep and dreaming, but you are totally, completely conscious.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you don't always control it, but you do know, you do remember the dream a lot better and more detailed once you realize that you're dreaming.
Yes, I've had many lucid dreams. I've had out-of-body experiences. And I recently have read to help with lucid dreaming too, to note every time you go through a doorway. I'm walking through this doorway.
Am I awake?
Yeah. And it seems to help. I haven't had a significant increase in lucid dreams, but I do have them, I don't know, I would say 3-4 times a year, where I'm in complete control and realize I'm dreaming, but I can do whatever I want.
That's more than most people. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And, a lot of people are worried that you're going to be, it's a sacred thing. You're not supposed to mess with dreams, and, you're supposed to have messages. But I argue to this point,
I don't agree with that.
You might be able to control things like flying, or the number of people that you see in the room, or whether you can walk through a wall, but are you controlling the color of the grass? Are you controlling the color of the sky? Are you controlling what you're going to see when you do walk through that door? I'd argue no, you can't. So there's a lot that you're not in control of that you can still take to heart and use as symbolism to grow and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Have you seen with Reiki and your crystal work that it like, this is something I want to try, and I wanted to talk to you before I try it.
Sure. Yeah.
Getting a good type of crystal, or the correct type of crystal, maybe sleep with it under my pillow, or something like that.
I do that all the time.
Okay.
I change. I have these little like folding bags with a little snap or a zipper on it, and I put different crystals in there, and I change them. Usually weekly. I'll use a different set. Okay,
so tell me why you do that. That's interesting.
Well, you mean why?
Why would you? Yeah. Why would you sleep with them, and why would you change them out?
Because that energetic field. Every single crystal is like a different person, as far as I'm concerned. And I have quite a few different types of crystals and different kinds of stones. The Herkimer diamond is especially good for out-of-body experiences. I'm not so sure about lucid dreaming, but it's definitely increases out-of-body experience.
I think they're about the same. From what I'm reading, the out-of-body versus the lucid are very, very similar.
Close.
The main difference would be that with out-of-body, you are conscious the entire process. Like you will, going into the dream, you're completely conscious, and then
it's like you're
out.
Taking the whole shopping bag of your normal everyday experience, cognition with you. So you got the whole bag there with you in this dream type state. And it's like, wow, how'd that happen?
Do you walk down the street and think about your Reiki symbols to do anything either with yourself, just in your waking everyday life?
Absolutely. I've always been a very empathic person. Of course, I've been criticized for that. You're too sensitive. I mean, do you know how many times? I've probably heard that 1 billion times since I was probably 5.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah. Don't be so sensitive. Don't take everything so personally. And you know, I would always pick up on other people's problems and not be able to guard myself against it. It took a long time to realize what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. It was like, I just don't feel right now, and when I'm around these people, it's worse. You know, I feel like something's going on, and eventually something would come out. They would say, you know, I'm having a problem with this or that, or I've been sick with something that I didn't want to talk about, or, you know, a mental issue, emotional issue. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's where that's coming from. And, you know, it takes time for you to adapt to that and to realize, well, I don't need to take on everybody's problem. My wheelbarrow is only so big.
Right. So in that moment when you do realize that there's something going on there, can you throw up, you know, a mental image of your symbol? And
Yes. Or, you know, one of the best protective things to do is immediately envision yourself covered in white light.
Interesting.
And nothing will penetrate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we'll take a quick break. We'll listen to some music and take a little, as John B. Wells would say, a bio break. Either right. Taking in fluids or maybe getting rid of some. And we'll talk about this white light that you just brought up, and maybe think about and discuss why that's protective and why that's helpful.
If a black man is racist, is it okay? If it's a white man's racism that made him that way? 'Cause the bully is the victim, they say. By some sense, they're all the same. 'Cause the line between wrong and right is the width of a thread from a spider's web. The piano keys are black and white, but they sound like a million colors in your mind. I could tell you to go to war, or I could march for peace and fighting no more. But how do I know which is right? And I hope he does when he sends you to fight. 'Cause the line between wrong and right is the width of a thread from a spider's web. The piano keys are black and white, but they sound like a million colors in your mind. Should we act or not play? Or should we chase the moments away? Should we live? Should we give? Remember forever the guns and the feathers in time. 'Cause the line between wrong and right is the width of a thread from a spider's web. The piano keys are black and white, but they sound like a million colors in your mind. sound like a million colors in your mind.
And welcome back to Quantum Conscience. And before the break, we were talking about using white light as a protective method. We were talking about issues or potential issues, and Rick brought up the idea of using a pyramid of white light. Can you tell us more about this protection method, Rick?
Well, first of all, wherever your attention and intention goes, that's where energy follows. And you can direct your energy, and you can ask for help from your guides or your guardians to protect you whenever you feel threatened in any way. And envision yourself in a ball of white light, or you can, for most indications, white light repels everything and anything. Nothing penetrates white light. Wherever there's light, there can never be darkness. So that's why white light. But you can use other colors as well. You know, say you're having a problem with your boss, there's a personality conflict or whatever. You can envision them surrounded by pink light or blue light, something calming. And you'll see a change. Like I said, wherever attention goes, intention, energy follows.
Okay. So that being said, have you run into any, in your work, have you run into any issues where you felt like it was a challenge for being able to perform Reiki?
Yes, it's rare. I can only remember really one specific case. And it was a resistance to the energetic flow. And the only thing I could come up with from this particular individual was there just wasn't that connection. There wasn't that trust. And he was guarding. He's guarding himself. He felt that, he was going to let me do it, but I could feel I'm not getting the flow that I should. I could feel the flow start and then it would stop. And that's very unusual. That's very rare. And as I said, really, that's the only one case that I can remember where it was like, what happened here? Why did he agree and then not allow it?
Do you think these kind of folks are maybe afraid that you know more about them than...
That's a possibility, yes.
Oh my gosh, he's going to read my mind.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, he might pick up on something that I'm trying to hide. Yeah, that could be. That could very well be. And I'm pretty sure that that's true, and sometimes people will say, well, just don't do that to me, and it's like, well, why not? Well, do you ever pick up things?
Then the $1 million question.
Yeah. Occasionally.
But it's not like you're hardwired to their brain and you can read their mind as if you're reading a newspaper or anything like that.
Of course not. No.
You'll probably only pick up what you need to pick up at that time.
But the thing about Reiki too, when you become energized and you're in the flow of the energetic, that it's stimulating all your chakras, and different psychic aspects come up. Things will happen. You'll see things, feel things, maybe even hear things, and it's all as real as anything else.
When you say things, give me an example of what you mean by seeing or hearing things.
Hearing things. Many times I'll feel like my name was called.
Okay.
My name was called, and I'm wanted to do something. Either move my hands in a certain position, or concentrate on a different aspect of their body, or something like that. Or I will get an impression, even though the client hasn't told me they have a problem with, say, their hip or something. I'll get an impression, go to the hip. And I go to the hip, and I'll say, and I'll feel more energy being expelled, And I'll say, well, have you had a problem over here? Well, yeah, I guess I have. I'm really noticing something there. I said, okay. So,
well, then there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Whoops, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a real technical, want to know all the details kind of a guy. Like my big thing is, why am I'm sensing things. I'll go into your office and I'll feel that tingling. Like, what the heck is going on there? Why is it tingling like that? Like, what in the world is causing? I don't even know if you can answer that, but I mean, that it's just crazy that's happening.
It's. I mean, we're all so complex. I mean, mind, body, and spirit in each individual, we are so complex. There is so much going on. I can only guess at why. Those chakras are being stimulated, say the third eye or the crown chakra or whatever, for a specific reason for you. Mm-hmm. Okay? And that's where the activity needs to go right now. That's where, that all of a sudden there's an opening there, there's energy available. Oh, hey, wow. Let's light the light bulb.
Yeah, and during the break, I was bringing up the fact that over the past week, let's see, it's June 26th right now, so over the past 5 or 6 days, my crown chakra has been acting up, doing some strange things. Like normally, I can have just a mild ring around the circumference of my skull.
Yes.
But there are certain spots right now that feel like literally electricity, just kind of looking for something to latch onto or attach to something off one side, and then a mirrored thing going on the opposite side of my head. And that feels very similar to what's happening when I'm in a Reiki session, when you get those crystals up on either side of my head, and you're putting them together, and then you get started. That same type of thing is happening.
I hear you.
And it's just a different part of the head. And when you're doing that, it's the very top of my head. Mm-hmm. But that's the only difference. Which is the crown chakra, and then these other meridians. There's either a mild blockage. It's not. Or it's trying to overcome the blockage through that meridian. Gotcha. And that would be more my guess, is we need more energy here to push through and break this blockage. Maybe until the tingling stops. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So embrace it.
Get the energetic flow going again. Because stagnation and blockage of energy, those are our problems. Those are the problematic areas, and that can change in an instant.
So that's maybe it manifesting physically at that moment, and then it's not necessarily something. It's good to use it as a marker or identifier.
Yes, oh yeah.
But you want it to go away by the time the session is done. Is that what you're?
Yes,
thinking?
That's what I hope for. I hope for that to go away, and you feel more energized, more awake.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Happier, maybe. If it's an emotional type thing, it could be emotional, psychological thing. It could be many things, or a specific problem somewhere in the body. Suddenly, it's like, oh yeah, I had that pain, and it's gone. It's completely gone. Well, that meridian and the chakras responsible for that meridian have overcome the problem.
Do you have anyone coming to you with any chronic issues that you're working through right now?
I have many people with chronic issues, either long-term diabetics, fibromyalgia type problems.
Oh, that's complex. Fibromyalgia.
Yeah,
wow.
I know, and there's so much controversy. Well, what is that? Is it from this virus, or is it something else? Who knows? It's real. I can tell you that. I know there's been a lot of controversy. Oh, it's just depression. No, they're depressed because they have fibromyalgia.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. They're not depressed and then get fibromyalgia.
They're going nuts because they don't know what's wrong with them.
Exactly. And nobody's given them any solution. And Reiki and massage are excellent treatment for fibromyalgia.
What do you see happening, before and after with the fibromyalgia when you're doing the session?
Well, fibromyalgia comes in waves. People are either in a very active state of inflammation, or they have this just lingering problem, lingering pains and so forth. And basically, I think it's an autoimmune issue. I don't think you're going to find any one specific thing responsible for it. That's just an opinion. I don't have any proof of that.
Right.
But that's my feeling about it. And anything you can do to stimulate your immune system to function properly, the probiotics, Reiki, and massage techniques, these all stimulate your immune system. They also stimulate your neurochemistry, all the feel-good hormones, the oxytocin, enkephalins, and endorphins are all stimulated and released with regular massage and Reiki. And also with acupuncture. Acupuncture does that as well. In fact, acupuncture and Reiki are very similar, except we don't use needles.
Okay, well, that to me is a big difference, because I like not using needles, and I'm afraid of needles. So to me, they're like, you might see similarities. I'm seeing differences there. I don't know. I mean, I know people who've participated as patients in acupuncture, and they say, well, you don't really even feel the needle and stuff like that. But that just freaks me out, the whole needle situation.
Yeah. And then they start running energy through it, electrical energy through some of these needles as well, and, for different purposes.
Ay.
Yeah, I know. And, but it works, and there are some people who get better results with acupuncture depending on the particular problem that they're
gotcha.
having. In fact, I even sent a few people recently that I feel may have some neuropathy going on from long-standing diabetes, and suggested that they go and try some acupuncture and see if that helps. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some positive feedback from that. So
I bet.
Yeah.
The adage "you are what you eat" is it seems to be coming up more and more now, because there are more people than ever, percentage-wise, that are coming down with autism.
Right.
You have a lot of various diseases that you would have never heard of, or very rarely heard about, 20, 30 years ago, that are cropping up right now.
Right.
Fibromyalgia is a new phenomenon. Right. A lot of other autoimmune things. Celiac disease is another huge thing.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
What is going on? I know that diet is kind of like a
diet is one
minor
thing,
hobby of yours.
And of course, diet is one thing, and we have suppressed immune systems from everything that has been done to us. The adjuvants in all these additives that are in our vaccines. They're specifically responsible for autism.
Really?
There's little question of that anymore. You don't put mercury, MSG, and aluminum, and a variety of other things that you put into a vaccine, they say, are adjuvants. And this was to help hyper-stimulate the immune system. Well, it turns out, and you'd think, oh, well, that's a good thing, my immune system's hyper-stimulated. Well, no, it isn't. Actually, it hurts the immune system. And like aspartame is an excitotoxin to the brain. Okay? It stimulates to the brain to the point where it is damaged. Okay? Nerves are damaged. Neurons are destroyed. the same thing happens with these adjuvants.
And aspartame, we'll find as a sweetener, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And then, vaccines. I mean, everybody's getting vaccines. I mean, heck, my kids are transitioning into school right now, and they can't even go to school without these vaccines.
Right. Well, actually, you can. There are ways around that.
Oh, yeah?
There are ways around that. You'd have to kind of research that out for yourself, but there are ways. I know of people who have actually got kids through school without getting the normal, quote, vaccines, to keep them safe.
I guess I'll talk to you off the air about that then.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now, when it comes to the different levels of Reiki, we touched on this at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You recommended everyone should consider doing level 1.
Right.
How many different levels are there, and what should we expect to happen to us, and what should we learn as we go through the different levels?
There's 3 levels basically for most Reiki lineages. The Reiki Jinkaido has 4 levels, and you start at the beginning level, number 1. Number 2, you get the extra power symbol to help use more and more powerful energy. And, you're supposed to be spending a specific amount of time, at least months, 6 months or so, between degrees, to utilize it and to help your own energetic system be able to accept the next level. Okay? For me, I've had 5 attunements. I've had the 3 attunements, to get to Master Practitioner for Reiki Jinkaido, and I had a 1st and 2nd degree in the Usui, medical Usui. And they're all great. It all creates tremendous amounts of energetic reactivity, shall we say, and things happen. You see things. You wake up in the middle of the night, and it's like...
Whoa, you said things. Okay, back up. What things did you see?
Well, I see beings. I can see a being.
Okay.
I'll see a being standing there. I'll see an aura. I'll suddenly see somebody's aura.
And this only happened after a certain attunement? Which one? At every stage?
At every single attunement, wow. I would be... Something would happen. Is
that typical?
I think generally speaking, yes. There are people who said, well, wow. I haven't had anything much happen. And it's like, are you really paying attention? Because I'm about to jump out of my skin some days, but some nights, And it usually happens at night, and there's a good energetic flow. And we're taught to sleep with our hands like you're hugging yourself. And that's to help your own energetic flow. And I do that, and I have done that all along. It was recommended by the Reiki masters.
So that's a can of worms that you just opened there with seeing things and beings and stuff like that. So we'll have to calm people down and so that they understand what...
Yeah, I mean, this is all beneficial. It's never been a negative experience other than the, wow, that was weird. Other than... That's a weird thing. I never experienced anything like that before. Was there any negative feelings associated with it? Did I feel bad? Or no, I always felt great afterwards. Waves of energy. I could see waves of energy just washing over me like I'm lying on the beach.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's happened many, many times, numerous times. And then I could see beings going up and down the side of my bed like they were treating me. They were doing some sort of a treatment. They were adjusting me in some way. Adjusting my energetic body is all I can... and it was always like, I see you, I see what you're doing, but I felt great. I felt wonderful.
They're the etheric Lego builders. They're building your, Reiki Lego body.
Yeah, they're readjusting the meridians and the energetic body.
So what is the
benefit me.
history of Reiki? Like, where did it start? How old is this practice?
Well, I believe Reiki started with a Buddhist monk, Usui, in somewhere around 1912, something like that.
Okay.
Something,
so it's
something in that
relatively
range.
new phenomenon.
Yeah. And there's a lot of variety of stories with specifics, but basically that's what happened. He was a Buddhist monk, but in the Xingnan variety, okay? And that religion is basically absorbed in the esoteric. They learn by experience, okay? And it's esoteric initiation and involvement, and you have a master, and you talk to him about what you're experiencing and so forth, and you learn on your own. You're pointed in directions. And he wanted a method of helping people. He was there to serve people, to help heal people. And he had these meditation and visitations of something happening, and these symbols came to him, and then he was able to heal people, and he could feel this energy through him. So it's like he was spontaneously...
Wow. Initiated spontaneously?
Yeah. Reiki attuned spontaneously, and he brought that to the rest of the world.
And this is the Usui method that you're talking about?
Yeah, Usui, yeah. And there was, other students that branched off and thought, well, there's more to this. I want to find out more information. Reiki Jinkaido, a student, Takamori, decided that he knew there was more to it. He wanted to learn more about it. Like you, Spencer, he wanted to be more technical, yes. And he traveled to India, he traveled to Tibet, and he found some yogis there that taught him more about it, so they knew. And it probably started, Reiki probably is thousands of years.
Yeah, that's what I was suspecting.
Yeah, and I suspect that's probably very, very true.
Maybe just under different names.
Right, yeah.
Like the Essenes, everybody's starting to realize, when you dissect the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Essenes were also energy healers. And but the thing is they kept it secret as long as they possibly could, and, for their own safety and stuff like that. In the Western world, well, you find in the Eastern world, at least up until the 1900s, it was always safe over there to do this.
Right.
And that you'll find that there. So I'm just wondering what other names it might...
Right. Well, look at Roman Catholicism and the laying on of hands.
Oh, yeah.
And they put their hands over the chalice, and I'm changing, the wine into the blood of Jesus by intention. And when you're blessed, he puts his hands on your head. When you're confirmed, your hands are, they put your hands, they use some oils and so forth and make symbols on you.
And they burn incense.
And
chalice.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
and
it's
all
everywhere.
the hands-on stuff. I mean, there's a lot of, mudra-type things with their hands, which is very interesting to me when you think about it in that way,
I mean, it's right there in front of your face, but, I didn't really think
face.
about it till you just brought that up. I mean, every culture seems to have a version of this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And before that, it was probably some, shamanistic, modality of healing, They just did it, they might have approached it in a different way, but, once again, the attention and the intention was there.
Bringing up shamans, that makes me want to ask, what is your opinion on the ayahuasca? Seems like to be a big deal right now, real popular.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on maybe, how does that work with, or can it team up with Reiki, or is that not recommended?
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure. I would have to experience that, and I haven't. I kind of feel like I would like to at some point. You know, iboga, ayahuasca. I mean, there's many, many listed benefits now that it's even a cure for anxiety, you know, chronic anxiety, chronic depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. There's places that are doing that now, you know, Costa Rica, that are treating especially veterans, you know, who come back and just cannot readjust to life because of what they have experienced.
Yeah, God forbid we try that here in the U.S. I mean, between
Right,
that and
we can't do
marijuana,
that,
you know, you can't find that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And meanwhile,
Yeah.
I mean, how many years is the backlog to get into the VA in Phoenix right now?
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
And it just
Exactly.
it irritates. It's just like in your face. Like,
Right.
we want you to be doing this because
Right.
this is what's legal, but yet
Yeah.
you can't. You know, it'll be 5 years before you're allowed to be treated for that.
Yeah.
But you could
Right.
go to South America or Central America and try ayahuasca with a shaman, and all of a sudden you come home and you're cured forever.
Yeah, and you're cured. Oh, well, that doesn't help the pharmaceutical company, does it? That doesn't help the doctors or the psychiatrists. So, you know...
And how does the government keep control of it? Too?
yeah, yeah. Oh,
We
you're
don't
not
need all
supposed-
these veterans awakening and
Yeah, we don't need... we don't need people more awakened. We need them dumbed down and tired and sleepy. So let's give them alcohol. But, anyway...
Right, so the attunement and the different levels in the
Right.
history, we covered that. Now, I think you were mentioning to me earlier that you kind of have started awakening in your own family, and now
Oh, yeah.
there's other Reiki practitioners.
Of 7 of us, we have, you know, there's 7, I have 7 siblings. 5 of us are Reiki practitioners, and 3 of us are masters. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool. And it you know, who knew that would happen? I didn't ever think that would happen,
Wow.
but it has.
In my
Right.
family, it would bring if everybody could take Reiki, I guess that'd be one way to bring everybody together.
Oh, yeah.
Now there's
Oh, yeah.
something to talk about.
Yeah, there is, you know, and I get lots of phone calls. Hey, this happened while I was doing this particular client, and then, you know, something was revealed, and it's fascinating, you know.
Yeah,
and there is some, you know, and we can talk to one another, and, hey, well, I had this happen, you know.
That'd be pretty cool. Right now,
Yeah.
our dinner table conversation revolves around the stock market and CNBC, Fox Business, and stuff like that, and what's happening in the silver market and the gold market. It sure would be nice if it would kind of switch over to healing and
Yeah.
diet and
Yeah.
really aggressively attacking some of that stuff.
Right, I agree with you.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Oh yeah, I hope so. And you know, getting back to, you know, plant-based medicine has been around for thousands of years. The shamans know all about it. And, you know, you want to go to a reputable shaman to do that. You know, you don't, there's a lot of, you know, in third world countries, there's a lot of people out there that need money bad. And
yeah.
they may pose as shamans, and you can have a bad trip, you know.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of respectable places, and it's all on the internet. Graham Hancock has been there, you know, writer.
I bet you he would recommend a good one if you can.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure he would.
Follow him.
I'm sure he would. There's, if you look it up on the internet, there's lots of well-known people. You know, psychonauts, they're called.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting term.
Yeah.
Psychonaut.
Yeah.
Makes me want to go there.
Like the McKennas, you know. Terrence
Oh yeah,
McKenna
that's right,
and
Terrence
Dennis
McKenna. I remember him mentioning that term. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
I think he was coined the original psychonaut,
Exactly.
wasn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we're moving on to the crystals because you know you've been working with crystals much longer than you've been doing
long
Reiki.
time. Very similar. Yeah.
How did you decide to make that correlation and maybe combine the two together?
Well, you know, the energy in the crystals, it's subtle energetic frequency as well, and it's like, why not just let's see what happens when I put Reiki energy through the crystals themselves. Hold them in my hands, put them in the active point of my, hands, and yeah, it amplifies.
Oh yeah,
it amplifies, and different crystals do different things. The shape of the crystal makes a difference too, just like it would, putting light through different shapes of glass.
Expound on how you notice the shape helps.
Well, there are crystals called laser wands, and they're slender crystals with very sharp termination points, pointy point on it. And those seem to really intensify the energetic aspects. And you can use that on specific problems, specific areas. Or, if you're sensing a problem with a specific chakra, you can use your hands or you can use one of these wands. And I find that the wands intensify greatly. And, I just start experimenting with them, use them. And I always have had crystals on me anyway. It's like, geez, I wonder what effect the crystals are having when they're just on me. And I know I've been very effective.
There's a new, I shouldn't say new, but it's, I would say past 50 years or so, there's a new detection method called Carillion photography.
Carillion, yes, familiar with it,
I've
yes.
looked up pyramids, and, I've done some pyramid research, as you may or may not know.
Yes, oh yeah, of course I do.
And on what I found is that there's a lot of Carillion photography of pyramid energy where it's describing something similar to what you're talking about, where you see this beam of light, at least in the Carillion, spectrum of light that they're taking it of.
Right.
It's just shooting right out the top of the pyramid. And it's like it's not, I wouldn't call it a beam like a magnum flashlight, but it's more like a spiraling looking energy coming out the tip.
Yeah, which is interesting.
So if you kind of, that's the vision I had in my head when you were talking about, the termination point at the end of that crystal. That's what I'm kind of seeing. Yeah,
creating some kind of a vortex type energetic field. Yeah, I believe that's probably true.
You've used those on my feet, and it's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah,
like
it's
I
wild.
can. The strongest sensation that I've had was with those you called them the magic wands or something like that, and
Yes.
it feels like you're almost, I wouldn't say shocking like electric shock, but it's a much calmer version of being shocked electrically, but that's that's the only correlation I can come up with. But it's sharp, man. I mean, that's pretty weird.
I get the chills just thinking about it myself because I feel that energy, and I'm always wondering. Of course, you're very vocal and able to communicate what's going on, and you're very sensitive to the energy. And most people are not that sensitive. They feel something. They're saying, geez, something's happening. It's
But they
like,
don't know
it's
how to
okay.
describe it.
Yeah, they can't describe it, yeah.
I don't think I do either. I'm just shooting
No,
from the hip.
many times you do, yeah. You have. No, you said, oh, I'm getting this feeling, or I'm seeing something, or seeing a color. And, the colors correspond to your chakras. You can get an idea of maybe, well, I'm seeing a lot of yellow. Well, that's your solar plexus.
Well, next time I need to remember that, because I haven't thought about that one yet. So if you're seeing that energy and you see a specific color, then if I do, then you as the practitioner will know. Oh, okay. Well, then that means we need to go.
Your attention is being called to that specific chakra. See.
Okay. So maybe if I'm seeing it, that means I need to say something. So
that would be very helpful.
Know what to do next.
Yeah, right. Because I may not be seeing the same color.
So maybe on this program we're not only learning how to become a practitioner, we're learning how to become a good patient.
Yes, yeah, right. Yeah, that would be very helpful to me as well.
Because we could use a lot of good patients around here.
Oh yes, oh yes.
You can imagine in a town of 50,000 how there's I mean, the percentage is minuscule that
Yes.
would be interested in this. So they're
Oh, yeah.
they're stumbling. They're literally stumbling on this information. Most of them will never hear this program.
No, they
to be honest with you.
probably won't. They probably won't. Even if I told them to listen to it,
They still wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
So they'd be stumbling on it. You know, the
Yeah.
coming to see you is
Right.
a freak
Right.
accident.
And that's that's another thing. You know, I feel like many clients who have come in, you know, they said to me, "Geez, I've walked by this place for the past 7 years, and I decided to come in today and see what was going on, and I happen to be standing there, and
Like it's some kind of saloon.
yeah." I happen to be standing there, and it's like, "Oh, are you the massage therapist?" Yes, you know, it says so on my shirt. Anyway, and we'd start talking about what they may need. You know, well, I thought maybe I would, you know, what kind of massage do you do? You know, I like deep tissue. I hear that so often. I
Yeah.
like deep tissue.
Beat the crap out of me.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when somebody says that to me, immediately it's like, no, you don't. You don't. You know.
You might have been getting that, but
I don't think you're masochistic. You know, and I'm not sadistic. So anyway.
So the crystals, you know, we've learned that these magic wands, they come to a fine point, and it seems to shoot energy vortex
Right.
out the
Yes.
tip.
Right.
Now, what color are those? The white ones? What color are those?
They're clear,
Okay,
citrine type. They can be other colors. You know, you find them a variety of colors. There's pink ones from Brazil, and there are a few varieties. I think there's a blue tinged one as well. There's a lot coming out of China right now too that I've seen advertised, and of reasonable cost. And you know, I'm always looking for more, but it's like, am I going to adopt some more children? You know, because I feel like they're my children. You know,
Oh, the crystals and
the
stones.
crystals. I'm the keeper of these stones for a time, you know, for as long as I feel that, you know.
Wow.
I do give away stones from time to time. There are stones where I feel like, you know, I'm instigated. You need to have this. And I give it
So
away.
you are the keeper of the stones.
Well, of these particular ones, yes.
Like the Matrix, you're not the key master, you are the stone master.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So if someone came
It's
up
my
to you,
responsibility.
if there's like a general stone or crystal that someone should have, someone said, hey, I'm going to go to the jeweler right now, I'm going to hang X on my
Yeah,
chest.
clear.
What would you want to...
A clear crystal quartz, double terminated, is preferable.
Now that means pointed on both ends?
Pointed on both
Okay.
ends.
Okay. Does it matter what kind of metal it's attached to or how it's mounted or anything?
Silver is good. Copper's okay. Copper's good too. Gold is, of course, fine. No problem.
So conductivity would
yes,
be important then.
is good. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Is that because it's traveling up, you know, throughout the necklace and around your neck and stuff like that, or it just
Right,
allows
and
it to do its thing?
It allows it to do its thing, and always do not use metal cords or necklace. You know, use a cord. Use a cotton cord or
okay.
so forth. Or, you know, I use this utility cord for...
He's showing
Not
right now.
mirror.
He's showing me that
Yeah.
it looks like a bungee cord.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like...
So you're saying that you want it to be an insulator,
Right.
but
Yes.
connected and mounted
Right.
using silver or
Yes, yeah, the
conductive.
connections... Yeah, the connections,
Gotcha.
anything that's good electrically are good for the stone as well. And, you know, and they're transducers, you know, if you squeeze a crystal, energy comes out. Okay.
Like an orange?
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that. That's crazy.
Yeah. In fact, you know, and that, it was so wild to me that I had taken this crystal course, and then, of course, you know, I got involved in ultrasound, and that's what ultrasound's all about.
Oh. Yeah.
A transducer.
Gotcha.
Changing one form of energy to another. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that final piece of the puzzle
Yeah.
that came together. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That ties it all together then.
Yeah, if you apply electricity to the stone, it vibrates. And then when the energy comes back, the vibrational energy stimulates an electrical charge from the crystal, and that's how we would create the image, of course.
Well, that's how we switched from the vacuum tube to the transistor as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
And that was a huge leap in technology.
Yes.
And that's probably, in my mind, that stands out as probably the biggest, most significant leap that crystals were able to contribute to in modern times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I mean, now radio's almost obsolete completely. But I mean, just think of how many years, how many decades of radio we've had with the transistor.
Right.
That's pretty amazing in itself.
Yeah, it sure is. And I wonder how much alien involvement there has been with the crystals.
Good question.
Yeah. Or, or archaeologically speaking, the Lemurians, Atlantean, and I have Lemurian crystals, seed crystals they're called, Lemurian seed crystals, and they are crystals that look like any other crystal except they have these lines, these parallel lines through it.
Like lengthwise or
crosswise.
Huh.
Yeah. And it looks like little steps all the way through, like a barcode.
I wonder if it's holding information, like a record.
It is. I'm sure it is. And there are people who claim they can hear messages from the crystals. Now, I haven't had that experience, but
I'm gonna have to
like
come see that.
I would like to. Maybe my ayahuasca trip will enable me to do that. I don't know.
You need to let me have a shot at that one. That sounds really cool. I'd love to try that.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like our the second half of the show kind of just flew by as we were talking about different subjects, but I just wanted to say that I'm very glad that you were able to come in and talk with me on the show today. I can't wait to get this out there because there's going to be some local people that do end up listening to this show, and they're going to be completely surprised at what we're talking about.
Oh, I'm sure.
and then there will be others out there that are not from the area that will be maybe drawn to this subject because they stumble on it synchronistically.
Yeah. I hope for that. I do.
But thank you very much for coming in today, and you can find us at Quantum Conscience, the YouTube channel, and we'll be back here in 2 Thursdays. Have a good night. Thanks.